Arthur Schopenhauer once went so far as to call women nature's most elaborate lie. Creatures whose instincts drive them to seduce, manipulate, and ultimately shatter whatever remains of masculine reason. Today, I want to unpack that provocative claim and show you why it still resonates so powerfully with millions of men who've been sold on romantic love, equal partnership, and soulmates. Are these ideals nothing more than illusions? Are we really being deceived by a primal force masquerading as noble feeling? In fact, it's more than an illusion. It's the deepest deception fueling human suffering. We've draped this farce in roses and poetry, but beneath all the romantic trappings lies a cold, calculating reality. Society builds its myths: eternal love, the perfect complementarity of man and woman, the idea that both sexes yearn for the same things, and then we cling to them so tightly we never see the strings. But if we strip away the ornaments, what remains is the brutal truth that nature itself engineered. Women don't love men. They evaluate them. They love what a man can provide, and their affection is always conditional, always strategic. When a man's status, financial, social, physical, slips, that eternal love vanishes almost overnight. Nature did not program women for unconditional devotion. It programmed them to assess. They are living arbiters of natural selection, cloaked in angelic beauty. Think of the spider spinning its web. The silk is delicate, inviting, but it's laid to trap prey. In human terms, we call this marriage. And let's face it, modern feminism often paints women as the oppressed, but the true holders of power have always been women. They wield seduction, emotional dependency, and legal frameworks like weapons. Look at divorce courts. Who ends up with the children, the home, half the assets? Rarely did she build that empire, yet the system hands it over as if by magic. Women don't need to work like men. They need only to captivate one, and the law does the rest. So why would nature create such a ruthless mechanism? Because the blind will to life, the force driving every organism, uses women as its most effective agents. Feminine beauty is the bait, maternal instinct the lure, and the promise of happiness is the hook that reels us into the endless cycle of reproduction. Women aren't evil. They're instruments of this primal will, often unaware of the power they wield. They feel genuine passion for as long as the will needs them to propagate the species. Once that purpose fades, so does the warmth. Consider the maternal instinct we valorize. Society praises mothers as selfless saints, yet the will's true aim is genetic continuation. A child is loved not purely as an individual, but as a vessel carrying forward the mother's lineage. And when that vessel no longer serves its function, that celebrated devotion can turn cold, or even hostile. It's not spite, it's biology. Every tender lullaby and sleepless night is insurance for the will to life. Now, I know this sounds harsh. You're probably thinking of the woman you cherish, recoiling at these sweeping generalizations. But ask yourself, have you ever witnessed the sudden shift in passion when a woman's interest cools? It happens so swiftly because her love was never unconditional. It was conditional on what you offered. And here's the kicker. The tragedy of modern man isn't that women deceive us, but that we deceive ourselves into believing love can give us what only indifference commands. Women respect what they cannot own. Love makes them predators. Indifference makes them human. So liberation begins the moment a man realizes he will never be cherished for who he is, only for what he brings to the table. He stops crawling for affection and starts building his own excellence. He becomes his own master. Ironically, that's when he finally earns something resembling true love. The man who embraces this ruthless reality sheds his slave chains of romance. He forms relationships grounded in authenticity, not illusion, loves without losing himself, gives without erasing his identity, protects without sacrificing his core. This isn't misogyny. It's emancipation from the stories that chain men to perpetual suffering. When expectation vanishes, appreciation emerges. Women become magnificent agents of nature's will, worthy of respect, not worship, partners, not overlords. So let me ask you straight, men watching this, do you prefer the comforting lie of romantic love, being puppeteered by instincts you refuse to understand? Or do you have the courage to face reality and forge bonds built on truth? Philosophy spares no softness. It demands intellectual bravery. To the women here, before you dismiss my words in anger, pause and reflect. Have you ever loved a man purely for himself, rather than for the advantage he represents? Have you truly chosen love over gain? Or do you recognize in my portrait the very mechanisms you employ, often without realizing it? Remember, truth need not be gentle. Sometimes the harshest revelations are the most liberating. If this resonates, even uncomfortably so, hit subscribe. Join the conversation not as spectators of romance, but as revolutionaries of reality. True love awaits not in myth, but in the raw authenticity we all too often fear to seek.